Hey guys, Jennifer here with the Family Fudge, and in today's video I'm going to take you along with me as I prepare a lot of make-ahead freezer meals. And today I'm focusing on breakfast foods that are kid-friendly. All of the recipes I'm making today are tried and true. And to make this process easier for myself, several of these recipes are what you might call semi-homemade. That's right, I'm definitely taking some help from the store with these recipes, which is a shortcut I love. Because you guys, you definitely do not have to make everything from scratch to put together these freezer meals. These recipes are all about prepping what you can ahead of time so that on those mornings when you're in a hurry, you have something you can grab quickly. And you guys, and now that my kids are back to school after winter break, I am really looking forward to filling up my freezer. And now before we get started, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you love freezer meals and hit that red subscribe button if you're new. First off, I'm going to be making a ton of our favorite Kodiak cake pancakes. Hashtag not sponsored, you guys. I just really love these mixes because they're made with good ingredients, they are full of protein, and using these mixes, I can actually turn out a lot of pancakes in no time. Today, I'm making 3 different flavors. And I'm going to start off by making the kids' favorite flavor, which is just the plain buttermilk. And the thing about these mixes is that they can be made in 3 different ways, depending on how much protein you want to add. You have the option of using just water, but if you want to, you can swap out the water for milk instead, which will add more protein to these pancakes. And if you want to add even more protein, you can also add in an egg. So that's what I'm going for today, the highest protein option, because I want to make sure to keep my kids full until lunchtime. So to make these buttermilk pancakes, I'm going to start by dumping the entire package of dry ingredients into my large mixing bowl. To this, I'm going to be adding in 3 eggs. Then I'm going to be adding in about 3 cups of milk. Now I say about 3 cups, but depending on what kind of pancake mix you're using, you might want to add a little bit more, especially if your pancake batter is looking a little bit thick. So now this next part is definitely optional, but I recently saw my friend Mindy over at the channel, This Is How We Bing 'Em, use this really fun pancake batter kitchen gadget. And you guys know I love kitchen gadgets, so I can't wait to give this a try. So to my large electric skillet, I'm gonna go ahead and add just a little bit of nonstick spray, and then with this on medium heat, I'm gonna go ahead and start cooking the pancakes. And you guys, for my kids, I like to make medium-sized pancakes. These are about the same size as a piece of bread. Making them this size not only makes them easier to store in the freezer, it also makes reheating them quick and easy. So as you guys can see, this little pancake contraption is working really well. All you have to do is squeeze the little handle part and you can let out as much batter as you want. This really is helping me make super uniform sized pancakes, and it's also drip free, which is great. So far, I'm giving this guy a thumbs up, and I did find it on Amazon. I'll go ahead and link it down below if you would like to check it out. So now I'm going to try my best not to overcook these pancakes. And as I'm finishing each batch, I'm just setting them aside on a few cutting boards so that they can cool down completely before I stick them in the freezer. Next up, I'm making some cinnamon oat pancakes. Now, if you are a cinnamon lover, you are going to love these. So these pancakes are going to be on the chewier side, unlike the buttermilk pancakes, which are more fluffy. So now I've put this batter together just like I did with the first batch. I added the entire box of mix, I added 3 eggs, and then I added about 4 cups of milk. And now all I have to do is get the batter onto my skillet. Now, as I'm making these, I'm really trying my best to make them about the same size as the other pancakes. And as you can see, I am actually not using that pancake batter gadget for these pancakes. And that's because I don't recommend using it if your batter is on the chunkier side. Remember, this one has the oatmeal in there. So instead, this time I'm just using a 1/4 cup measuring cup to get the pancake batter onto my skillet. So now as I'm cooking these pancakes, I'm also setting each batch aside so that they can cool down. I'm setting mine on some cutting boards, but you could also just lay out some parchment paper or some wax paper so that they can cool down before you stick them in the freezer. So now that brings me to my last pancake flavor, which is a dark chocolate. Now you guys, this batter is super chocolatey, so if you're a chocolate fan, you will probably love these. In fact, I think the batter looks and smells a lot like brownies. Of course, the batter itself is chocolate flavored, but there's also little tiny chocolate chunks in the mix as well. And I put this batter together exactly like the other flavors. I added 3 eggs and about 3 to 4 cups of milk. And now I'm not quite sure why, but for some reason I couldn't get these chocolate pancakes to be perfectly round. They're kind of bumpy on the edges. Maybe it's because of the chocolate chips in there, I'm not sure. But the most important part is that these taste amazing. And just like all of the pancakes, I do want to let these cool down completely before I move on to the next step. Now, interestingly enough, even though all of these pancake mixes pretty much had the same amount of ingredients, the box of buttermilk pancakes made the most pancakes, but with all 3 boxes combined, I'm left with about 65 pancakes. These pancakes are packed with protein and whole grains, and because I used the mixes, I was able to make all of these pancakes in just over an hour. Okay guys, now here's where things might get a little bit different, because this is how I like to do freezer pancakes. I actually want to par freeze these before I add them into my freezer bags. That way when I store them in my freezer bags, they won't get stuck together. So what I like to do is add a layer of pancakes to my little cutting boards, just like this. Then I can actually stack each of these layers together. Then I'm gonna stick this entire tower of pancakes in my freezer for at least an hour. After that, I can go ahead and pull them back out and get them into my freezer bags. And just as with any freezer meals, I am gonna go ahead and label my freezer bags with what's inside. And check it out, you guys. I just love the way these turned out. These were so quick and easy to make. I know they're made with really good ingredients, but most importantly, I know my kids aren't going to love them. Now, when it comes time to reheat these, you have several options. The easiest way is to go ahead and pull out however many pancakes you need and just pop them in the microwave for about 30 seconds. You could also throw them in the toaster oven, or remember how I made these pancakes about the same size as a piece of bread? That's because sometimes I'll even stick these pancakes directly into my toaster and reheat them just like that. Okay guys, next up I'm making the easiest breakfast sandwiches you can make. And again, these are definitely semi-homemade because I'm actually starting with some pre-made Nutri-Grain waffles. Now of course if you want to, you could make your own waffles, but today I'm all about quick and easy. And speaking of quick and easy, to wrap up these sandwiches for the freezer, I really like to use these foil sheets. They're already ready to go. You don't have to fumble around with a big roll of aluminum foil. And I usually find these either at the Dollar Tree or at Walmart. So now to make these breakfast sandwiches, I'm gonna start by adding 1 Nutri-Grain waffle on the bottom here. And you guys, these aren't even toasted yet. That's right, you do not have to pre-toast these at all. Next, I'm adding 1 slice of sharp cheddar cheese to each of my little breakfast sandwiches. And on top of those, I'm gonna be adding some of our favorite deli ham. That's right, this is the kind that you might add in a sandwich for a lunch, but these actually work really well in breakfast sandwiches. So I'm gonna go ahead and add 3 slices to each breakfast sandwich. Now I'm gonna top the ham with 1 more piece of cheese. So now I'm going to finish off each sandwich with one more Nutri-Grain waffle on top. All I'm going to do is wrap this up in the foil and it's good to go. So now I'm only going to be putting together 10 of these sandwiches today. 10 is plenty for my freezer. And in fact, since these sandwiches are a good size, 2 of my younger kids can actually split one. And just as a side note, you guys, if you wanted to, you could definitely swap out the cheese. I think instead of using cheddar cheese, you could also use pepper jack, and that would be so tasty. And if you wanted to, you could also scramble up some eggs and add those into the breakfast sandwich as well. But honestly, my kids prefer these breakfast sandwiches with no eggs, so that is fine with me. That definitely makes these sandwiches a lot easier to put together. Now, when it comes time to reheat these, I just pulled the breakfast sandwich directly from the freezer. I leave it in the aluminum foil. Then I put these in the oven at 350 for about 10 to 15 minutes. By then, the sandwich is heated through, the waffle is slightly crispy, and the cheese is nice and melty. Seriously, you guys, this one is a keeper. We love these. Next up, I'm making a big batch of egg muffin cups. Now, I have made a lot of different versions of these over the years, but for today's recipe, I'm keeping it simple by making the ones that my kids enjoy the most. So the first thing I need to do for these muffins is to go ahead and cook the sausage. Today, I'm using some ground turkey sausage. I'm just gonna add this into my pan, and I really wanna break it up into small little pieces. Now, of course, if you're not a fan of turkey sausage, you could also use pretty much any kind that you like. If I was making these for myself, I would probably use a spicier sausage because I love spicy food, but my kids not so much. So today I'm just sticking with the turkey. Of course, turkey is great because it's usually not as greasy as pork sausage, but no matter what kind of sausage you use, you're gonna wanna go ahead and cook it all the way through. And if you're left with extra grease, you're gonna wanna go ahead and drain that out. Next, in a separate bowl, I'm gonna put together my egg mixture. And like I said, I'm making a big batch of these egg muffins, so I'm actually gonna be cracking in a whole dozen eggs. And you guys, with this recipe, and in fact all of the recipes I'm sharing today, I'm gonna go ahead and add printable recipes to thefamilyfudge.com, so you can head on over there, print out these recipes, and use them yourself. So now that I have all 12 eggs cracked, next I'm adding in half a cup of milk, and then some salt and pepper. Of course, you can do this to your own taste. But since I'm making a lot of these eggs, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of salt, and then to make sure it's not too spicy for the kids, I'm just adding about 1/8 of a teaspoon of pepper. Now I'm just going to whisk this until it's completely combined, and then to cook these egg muffins, I'm going to get out my new favorite pan. Now believe it or not, you guys, this pan actually has room for 24 muffins instead of just 12 like a normal pan. I found this at Walmart and it is awesome. But you guys, anytime I bake in it, I definitely use silicone liners. These are definitely a lifesaver. They make cleanup so quick and easy. And surprisingly, these silicone liners are actually really affordable. I find these on Amazon as well. And I'll go ahead and add a link to my favorite silicone cups in the description box below. Now you guys, if you don't have silicone cups, don't worry. You can still make these egg muffins, but you are gonna wanna go ahead and grease your muffin tin really well with either butter or non-stick spray before you add in your eggs. Okay guys, now to give these egg muffin cups a little variety, I'm going to go ahead and make half of them one way and the other half a little bit different. In the first half, I'm going to be adding in some store-bought frozen hash browns. Now I'm actually using this type because I like that the potatoes are really small, and it also includes little pieces of onions and peppers. Now these hash browns are still fully frozen, which is totally fine, but it's not going to take much into each cup. Just 1 tablespoon is all you need. That's just about half of this bag of hash browns. So now I'm going to go ahead and stick the rest of the bag back in the freezer for a different day. And I'm going to move on to the turkey sausage. I'm going to be adding the turkey sausage into both different types of egg muffins. But again, you don't need a lot in each cup. Just 1 tablespoon per cup is what I'm adding here. And that really turns out to be the perfect amount. This was 1 pound of sausage. I don't remember if I said that. But that's pretty much the perfect amount for all 24 cups. Next comes the cheese. Now I'm definitely eyeballing this cheese here. It's probably about 1 tablespoon though. This is just a sharp cheddar cheese. Of course, I get the big bags from Costco, so it's quick and easy and ready to go. And then of course you could swap this out for any other type of cheese that you prefer. And then you guys, all I have to do is fill up the rest of each little cup with the egg mixture. And you guys, to make this a little bit easier, I do like to add the egg mixture into a little pitcher with a spout. So now I'm going to pop these into the oven at 350 for about 30 minutes, or until the eggs are set in the middle. Now once these are out of the oven, you're going to want to let them cool down completely, and then if you wanted to, you definitely could stick these in freezer bags and store them in the freezer. But we're actually going to be using these muffin cups first, so instead of freezing them, I'm actually going to be sticking them into a couple of food storage containers instead. I got a really good deal on these guys after Christmas. So I'm going to go ahead and open these up, I'm going to give them a wash, and then I can get the egg muffin cups in here. Now you guys, I do like to go ahead and pop them out of the silicone cups before I store them. As you can see, they really do pop out so easily, they don't stick at all, and it's not leaving me with a huge mess, which I love. You could store them in the silicone cups if you wanted to, but I'm actually going to be using these on another muffin recipe, so I'm going to go ahead and take them all out. Now these egg muffin cups can last up to a week in the fridge or about 6 weeks in the freezer. And to reheat them, I really just pop them into the microwave for about 30 to 60 seconds, depending on if they're frozen or not. And then I like to serve these with either a little bit of ketchup drizzled on top or some hot sauce. Okay guys, and next up I'm going to be making a huge batch of French toast. French toast freezes so well, and you really only need a few ingredients to throw them together. Now since I'm making a huge batch today, I'm going to start by cracking a dozen eggs into a large mixing bowl. Next, I'm adding 2 cups of low-fat milk, followed by 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, a couple of shakes of salt, and then I'm just adding 2 tablespoons of sugar. I know that most French toast recipes call for more sugar than that, but I want to go ahead and cut back on the sugar for this recipe. And then finally, I'm adding in 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Now you guys, to make this a little bit easier, I am going to go ahead and use my electric mixer to mix this all together. And once it's combined, I'm going to go ahead and pour about half of this mixture into a shallow dish, which is going to make dipping the bread a lot easier. And speaking of dipping the bread, I'm just dipping these very quickly on either side before I'm adding each slice of French toast to my skillet. And you guys, I'm using just a regular wheat bread. I've made this with lots of different kinds of bread before and they all turn out great. But for my kids, they definitely prefer the regular wheat bread. So now I'm just cooking these for about a minute or 2 on each side, and I'm making sure not to overcook them since they are going to be reheated right before the kids eat them, and I don't want them to get too dried out. Now you guys, to store the French toast and to reheat the French toast, it's almost exactly like the pancakes that I made earlier. I like to spread out all the pieces onto cutting boards, then I'll add all of them to the freezer for about an hour before I add them into the bags. And then you can reheat these in the microwave, the oven, or even the toaster. Now these will actually stay good in the freezer for months, although in my house they don't usually last that long. Okay guys, next up I'm making breakfast muffins. My kids absolutely love muffins. I'm making some chocolate zucchini muffins. Now don't let the zucchini part scare you. You definitely don't even taste the zucchini in here at all. And if you grate the zucchini really finely, your kids probably won't notice it at all either. So to make these muffins, I'm going to start by adding my sugar, my oil, my eggs, and my vanilla to a mixing bowl. And I'm using my electric mixer until this is thoroughly combined. In a separate bowl, I'm going to mix together my dry ingredients, which are flour, cocoa powder, salt, baking soda, and cinnamon. Now I'm going to combine my wet and dry ingredients together, and then once that's combined, I can fold in the zucchini. Now this next part is optional, but I really like to add in a handful or 2 of chocolate chips as well. So this breakfast muffin is definitely on the sweeter side. Now I'm going to add these to my muffin pan with my silicone liners. Of course, you guys know I love those. And I'm going to cook these at 350 for about 18 to 20 minutes. Now to store these, I just let them cool down completely. Then I just go ahead and add them into my freezer bags. And I like to keep these for just about 6 weeks in my freezer. That way they don't start to taste old and freezer burned. Okay guys, thank you so much for joining me on this journey today. I hope you found this video interesting and that it gave you motivation to create your own freezer breakfast. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video.